Hi everybody and welcome to GeekTube Central's Game of Thrones finale predictions. Now getting straight into it, I had a look at things like what we've seen so far and what we've seen in the posters. Now as you see here, there's the Game of Thrones poster where you see Tyrion on a ship and he looks up and he sees Drogon. Now obviously that did happen, but it happened in a smaller ship. Now that's something that you can look at and say, ah, that happened. And then there's the different kind of posters where it's more an interpretation that you can see. Now there's obviously a dire wolf, and that could be ghost, something to do with Jon looking up and obviously realising that the White Walkers are real, and that could probably relate to his eyes being opened. But also it could relate to basically just any of the Starks in the show. Now that really doesn't explain much, and but we have a look at the other posters that we see in the show, and what we see here is obviously they will return, and this one to do with fire and blood. Now obviously they will return is kind of a mixed metaphor kind of thing. I mean, you do see all three dragons, but not in the way that we think they're going to return. Now you see Rhaegal and Viserion, they're trapped down in the alcove sort of thing, and you see them for the first time and last time this season, but mostly it's the return of Drogon. Now this one is actually to do with the prediction, and I actually think this is going to cover, as you see, the two swords in the sigil of the Stark sigil and the crow. Now I think this alludes to the fact that there's probably going to be a mutiny and Jon's going to be stabbed. Now where do I get that from? It pretty much explains it here. You don't need to infer a lot, but in the books he does get attacked by his own men in a coup. Obviously they're pissed off at him for allowing the wildlings through the gate, through the wall I should say. Now that's something that you can infer pretty much from this, and that's fine. So again, there's this whole they will return thing, and I think this alludes to the fact that Drogon's showing up. Now obviously we saw him show up in episode 9, and he basically rescues Dany, and she takes the opportunity to fly on him for the first time, and you'll see in a moment I've got a synopsis for what happens to Dany, and I think she's basically going to come across maybe people that are less than kind to her. Maybe she'll fly further afield than Marine or on the outskirts. I think she's going to travel a fair distance, and that's something that happens in A Dance with Dragons, the book. Now this is the thing that I'm really basing my prediction on. This whole vengeance is coming. Now what I can infer from this is who would need the most revenge that I would think of? I mean, Sansa could come for revenge. I think she would try and have vengeance on Ramsay. I think there's also maybe Cersei's revenge, but also from what I've had a look at as well, I actually think this vengeance could be Arya with Meryn Trant, but also something that we've been waiting for since the Red Wedding. Vengeance for that. Now this is where the whole Lady Stoneheart comes in, and this is where I think my prediction is. I mean, there's other things going to happen, and that's fine, but this is the one that I want to happen. Now I don't want to be wrong. I'd love to be right, and I really hope it's right that Lady Stoneheart's going to come in. Now if you're not sure, and obviously you can tell even under all that gruesome, ghoulish looking imagery here, Lady Stoneheart is Catelyn Stark reanimated. Now what happens in the book is after she's murdered, in my opinion, they make a mockery of the Tully funeral rites, and they strip her and they dump her in the river. Now several days go by, and the Brothers Without Banners with Beric Dondarrion and so on and so forth, they find her, and Beric Dondarrion takes his life that he's been given over and over and over again, and he passes it on to her, and she comes back from the dead. Now where I'm hoping this is true is that there's this a while back. It's not up now. You can go and check. If you look at Michelle Farley's IMBD database entry, is when you look at our Game of Thrones. If I zoom in here, and I'll zoom in just in a second. Basically, it comes up as episode 5.10, which is Mother's Mercy, and it comes up as Hooded Woman. Now, I don't know if this is some git that's obviously thought, I'm gonna stir some shit here. She never showed up in season 4, and they keep denying it. I'm gonna add this. Now, chances are it could be that, but I actually think that based on the reaction of the cast members and that they're going, it's amazing and oh my god, it's going to be fantastic. The way they're acting is that it's so fucking amazing. It's like all the episode 9s we've been used to, and all the other episode 9s we've been used to have been epic, right? And the only way I can see something totally epic after Hardhome and Daenerys riding Drogon is bringing in this character, because we need some retribution here, and I've had enough. You know, the Starks have took a lot of shit. So I'll cut to here, and this is just a listing I found online, and it's basically the synopsis is Stannis marches. That's fine, I'm not really bothered about him. Dany is surrounded by strangers. Cersei seeks forgiveness and Jon is challenged. All stuff I've just mentioned before. Now, it's called Mother's Mercy. It could be that the mother in question is Cersei and she's begging mercy from the mother, you know, the mother and the crone and all the religious stuff. Or another mother is begging for mercy. It could be Selyse. Or it could allude to another alias of Lady Stoneheart's, which is Mother Merciless, right? Now, a lot of people, I'm not the only one that has created a video on this, other people have, and that's fine. And I'm not just following a trend here, I really, really want to believe this is what's going to happen. We need some sort of resolution here, people. This is something that, I mean, they've cut lots of things out of the book, but they should not cut this out. And it's a terrible thing to say, but Michelle Farley was in Resurrection. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's based on the French show La Reverence, which, by the way, is way better than the remake in America. Sorry, it's just crap. But that show's got cancelled, and she was a character in season 2, and now she's not in that show, and obviously there's not going to be season 3. And if she's just been asked to come in at the end of season 5 for a quick sort of cameo, this could lead to her coming back in season 6, and I really want to believe that's what's going to happen, because this storyline is important, okay? Now, I know we've seen what happened last week with Shireen being burnt at the stake by her father and that bitch Melisandre, but there's other parts of this whole religion for real, or the whole bringing back the dead. Now, that's more exciting to me than any of this other shit. Come on, man. I mean, we can't bring back Ned. We can't bring back Rob. Their bodies were desecrated, okay? Both had their heads taken off. But as much as she was murdered, she was in pretty bad shape. She, in the book, she's got scars down her face from raking her nails in complete grief when she saw Rob get murdered, and her hair's kind of went brittle and her eyes are kind of white because she's dead. She's starting to rot. But Beric Dondarrion and the priest, I forget his name, forgive me, I will add it in if I have to in the editing, but they find her, and remember, they had loyalties to the Starks, and Beric Dondarrion gives up his life, and remember, he's been brought back many a time, and he said each time he doesn't feel the same, and I think he gave it up because he realises that she needs to come back. She's got a reason to come back. You know, the North remembers, but who better than have her? But she doesn't come back completely Caitlyn. She comes back tortured and full of rage and angry. And I really believe that if this happens, if we get this storyline, even though it came later than what it did in the books, I really believe this is something they shouldn't cut out. I mean, people are talking about, well, they could say that the whole Lady Stoneheart thing can still be in play, but rather than it being Caitlyn Stark brought back from the dead, it could be Dark Sansa. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have any faith in that. I don't think it has any. I don't think that dog can hunt. You know that expression in the American viewers here? That dog don't hunt. I'm sorry. We saw glimpses of Sansa's, grit and determination a few times, but it's kind of been put down. And from what you see in the trailer, she's all very down and talking about death and I'm gonna fight while I've still got something left in me. I don't see her as someone that's going to pick up that kind of mantle. I don't think she can cast off all that she's been through, and really she's not as strong and grounded as Arya and any of the other Starks. Really, she just doesn't have that in her. And I'm not saying that she can't come back with what's happened with Ramsay, but I don't believe that she can come back and be a strong sort of vengeance type character like Arya. But Sansa's a completely different story. I think the most she can do is try and live within the world she's stuck in and try and play her own game, but she's not playing the Game of Thrones, and I don't believe that she's got it in her to be full of vengeance. But I really do hope for more for Sansa, but I really believe that if everything calmed together, and I know I'm taking together a lot that's relatively small and what you would call circumstantial evidence, but if this is true and if the stars align, I really believe this could be a high point in the series for the TV series, bringing back Catelyn Stark. Now that's my prediction. I really want to believe this prediction, so I'm going about 90%, right? But I know that with titles for episodes, it usually doesn't just have one meaning, it could have multiple meanings. If you remember when I did the review for The Gift you would assume straight out would be Tyrion, he's the gift. But also the gift could also relate to the fact that where Stannis and co were camped up, which was between Winterfell and Castle Black, there's an area called the Gift. Now, not many people that I've seen doing reviews have twigged onto that. They've not really, but you've really got to pick these things apart, people. Now, even though the chapters in the book don't come up like the Gift or names like in the episodes, they come up from POV chapters. In the show, they're being smart by giving you a title, and the title's usually got multiple meanings, and I like to believe that even if Mother's Mercy relates to Cersei, even if it relates to the mother and the crone, the mother from the Faith of the Seven, it could also relate to another mother. But the mother, the main mother we've ever seen, the best of the mothers, which has always been Catelyn Stark. And I believe that the fact that we can actually get one back, we've lost a lot of people here, people. And after what happened to Shireen, I have to believe that we're going to get something back. And I've said it to friends and family, and I'm pretty sure yous have thought it at home. The Starks have been through a lot. Come on, man. It's all went to shit since Ned died, and you're like, come on, give us something to hope for. I really believe Jon's going to get stabbed yet again, rather than being shot full of arrows by a great, a couple of seasons ago. We'll never truly get what we want. We'll never get to see the Starks, even if they reclaim their heritage. It'll never go back the way it was. But we can get something back. And if we get Catelyn back, even though she'll be full of rage and vengeance, we need that. We need to get behind someone like that. And that's why I'm really hoping that this prediction comes true. I could just be really reaching here, people. I could be just basically talking through the hole in my ass. Although they said before that they weren't going to have Lady Stoneheart, and she didn't show up at the end of Season 3 like we thought. She didn't even show up in Season 4. I think where we are now, seeing what's happened to things, I think this is the right time for her to come back. And the fact that Lady Stoneheart becomes involved storyline-wise with Podrick and Brienne, I believe this is the perfect opportunity for her to show up. Now, she might have been brought back to life and she could have been doing all this off screen, and we're only finding out about her now. That's where I'm hoping this is leading to. Now, you may think I'm wrong, you may think something else. If you've got any ideas, or if you've thought of anything that I haven't brought up, pro or con wise for this theory, I'd like to hear it. So thanks for subscribing and liking and commenting on my previous videos. I hope you can keep up and continue to support the channel. Thank you very much.